com.
1690 WVON remembers the Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr.
I am black, beautiful, proud. I must be respected. I must be protected. I am somebody.
You were a beacon of light, not only for Chicago, but for the nation. From our family to yours. Rest in peace, Reverend Jackson. Job well done.
Live from the Xfinity Studios, it's the station that America listens to. WVON, Berwyn, Chicago. It's Rufus Williams on Chicago's essential storyteller, WVON.
The views expressed on our programs are not necessarily those of WVON, Midway Broadcasting Corporation, or our participating sponsors.
If you're not out of the bed yet, then what are you waiting for? It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on 1690 WVON.
Every day you're walking by and I can see how you shine. Here I am alone with nothing but in the dream that you are mine. Just exactly what I'll do, I don't know, baby, but I gotta find a way to reach you. Tell me what I gotta do to get to your house. Tell me where I gotta go and make to be with you. Tell me what I gotta say and make to speak to your heart. Tell me what I need to know tonight.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
The Audio Genius.
Get in on the conversation with Rufus Williams and the Morning Show at 591-1690. We are the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Good morning, and welcome to Wednesday. It is the 18th of February, the year 2026. It is the Rufus Williams Show. I am Rufus Williams, and as always, thrilled, excited. I am truly delighted to be with you this morning. Got a full house here today. Titus, how you doing this morning?
I woke up a little somber this morning.
You know what? I'm feeling some kind of way as well. So if it doesn't feel like the normal energy, it's because it's probably not. It's just yesterday was a lot.
Yes.
Also excited to have the lady, Annette Flournoy, is here with us this morning. Annette, how are you today?
I'm fine. Thank you, Rufus. It's always a pleasure to be with you guys first thing in the morning.
It's always great to have you. I mentioned to you earlier, and we'll play it again. Titus played it at 6:30. We should hear this a lot. But the piece that you put together yesterday on all the folks who showed up, came on, talked about the legacy of Reverend Jackson was really special. Thank you for that.
Thank you for mentioning that. You know, it put itself together. The Reverend story writes itself. You know, he was a history maker, and you know what we do here is we catalog that, and it was just a moment as a journalist to just put it down in paper, and it was important for me to do it. And as I said, it wrote itself, especially with all the great interviews that you did yesterday, just back to back, having Congressman Jackson on yesterday. That was a phenomenal interview that you did with him. And actually, the family is expected to make a statement later this morning. But you were one of the first to have the congressman on. So, great job.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful that he came on. I just don't know how they do it. The Jacksons managed to keep all these things together with all the spotlight and all the things happening. And to your point, they're going to have a press conference this morning at 9:00, the family outside. I just don't know how they do it. Junior did his radio show last night and shared some thoughts. It's just they're magnanimous with what they give to us and will continue to give to us. And, when we just think about how generous they were as a family with the Reverend, for him to be able to do all that he did for all the time that he was able to do it, it's just wonderful. And what the family continues to do in their public outreach, whether it's right now in mourning or consistently with what they do, it's just, we are blessed to be able to have them. We truly are. And I still think about it, Titus. I still wonder whether or not they did line up and do I Am Somebody every morning.
Yeah, I swear, I definitely agree.
I can imagine them on the wall. I am somebody every morning till it's just it's part of what they are, because it's who they are and what they bring. We're going to spend today. I actually did take the liberty of moving all of my planned guests for today. The Reverend was huge in our sights, and one day is just not enough. And the programming yesterday throughout WVON, I wasn't able to hear all of it. I had some other things that I had to do as well, but I did catch just a little bit of Atiba and LaDonna, but I did catch most of Tavis last night. And if people didn't, and if people aren't at 6:00 in the evening, just a wonderful show, wonderful renditions yesterday. Not everything I agreed with. I don't agree with everything Tavis says, even though I love the brother, my good fraternity brother. And that's just kind of where we are. So some things were not. Some things were good, some were not. He had Abby on for an hour last night, and Abby Phillips from CNN wrote her book on Reverend Jackson, and she had been on our station with Matt previously, but she was on with him, and they went through a lot of things last evening. And she is she's a brilliant journalist. I mean, she's that girl. They must be doing something at Harvard. She's from Harvard. We talked to Joyanne Reed last week from Harvard. So yeah, those who get in are really in studying this way are really good. And she was really good there doing that. So we'll continue today, certainly on this show, to have more honor for Reverend Jackson and people. I know I left a lot of people on the phone yesterday, but welcome you to call back in 773-591-1690 and share thoughts that you have about the Reverend. We've got some other people. I put out a number of Hail Marys last evening, because I know that while everyone was every place talking about everything, they weren't all able to get there, weren't all able to be heard here. So
Rufus, I just wanted to say something about, having Tavis as a journalist and Abby as a journalist. As a journalist, Reverend, he was so impactful. Yeah. I remember, just starting out in the industry, covering Reverend Jackson and Operation Push or other events. He was always so thoughtful to make sure that Black journalists got an opportunity to speak to him. So you have a room full of journalists, aggressive people trying to meet their deadlines and trying to get their stories out. And so, we can just kind of walk over each other to get our stories. But the Reverend would always pause. And if he saw a Black journalist in the room, he made sure that our voices were heard. And you might remember this. I started out at News Radio 780 as an intern and was later hired. This was eons ago, and later hired as a desk assistant. But my mentor was Felicia Middlebrooks. Oh, wow. And do you remember the year that Felicia Middlebrooks had contract issues with CBS? And the Reverend stepped up and helped her fight that. And they won. They won to get her contract honored. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. And just a wonderful win when she did it. You know, he went to bat for Dorothy Tucker as well with CBS. So yeah, this is one of the things we talked about yesterday. Whether the battle was big or small, the Reverend was there, and people called on the Reverend responded. And not only did the Reverend respond, people responded to the Reverend. So to be able to move them in the ways in which he was just phenomenal. Titus, I guess I'm supposed to take a break. We have breaks, man. I'm going to take one. We'll be back. More about the Reverend right after this.
More of the morning show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This Black History Month, WVON is coming with a message. Kiss My Black Past. We're partnering with adopted Chicago artist Keith David Connor, the visionary behind Black history illustrations that have inspired Chicago for years. His latest work, The Culture Proud Calendar, connects to WVON's Eracism campaign at a time when Black history and Black identity are under attack. This month, we're not just celebrating the past, we're protecting it and pushing forward. Unapologetically Black, unapologetically proud. This Black History Month, WVON doesn't just honor history, we make it.
This is Congressman Danny Davis. For decades, the Cook County Assessor's Office was plagued by corruption. That's all changed with Fritz Kagi. Fritz Kagi brought real transparency to the Assessor's Office, and he's made it easier and more affordable for the people who need it most. Seniors, veterans, and people with disabilities. Under Fritz, hundreds of thousands of residents have seen lower tax bills. And for many others, he's kept increases down by making sure wealthy commercial property owners finally pay their fair share. This is what reform looks like. Honest, accountable, and on the side of working people. I'm Danny Davis. Join me to support Democrat Fritz Kagi for Cook County Assessor. Primary day is Tuesday, March 17th.
Paid for by Friends for Fritz.
Hey, it's Cleopatra Draper. Join me for the Midday Show weekdays at 9 a.m. where we'll sip and spill all the tea. Do you want it hot or cold? Either way, we're serving up the flavor of the day. Weekdays at 9 a.m. right here on the station giving you what's now and what's next. 1690 WVON.
You never know who's going to stop by WVON.
Brother Robert Townsend in the studio from the West Side.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Michael Jai White, good morning and welcome to WVON.
Thank you.
Abby Phillip, welcome to WVON. How are you?
I'm so great. Thanks so much for having me.
Brian Urlacher. What's up, Brian? Pleasure to have you on the show.
Appreciate you having me on.
We are the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Kyle Cox started Blindster in his garage back in 2010. Since then, they've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters nationwide. Their blinds are DIY friendly, guaranteed to fit, and always cheaper than big box stores. Blindster.com.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
We must be ethnic, which is our blackness, accept our African roots, our African heritage, get all of the psychological self-esteem that we need out of being black, have our natural hairdos and our symbols of blackness, but you got to go beyond being ethnic. You must also be ethical. Cain and Abel were ethnic. They were two brothers, came out the same mother's womb, but they were not ethical, and so they killed each other. So in addition to being ethnic, you must be ethical, but beyond that, you must be excellent. Because in the last analysis, the only thing that will protect you from genocide is to be necessary. I mean, whether you're in America, in Africa, and wherever, your life chances are increased by being excellent. Now, you may not survive even if you are not excellent, but you're almost guaranteed to get wiped out if you're not excellent. I mean, that which has protected a Hank Aaron, that which protected a Willie Mays, that which has sustained a Muhammad Ali, that which has made a Ralph Bunche go down into the annals of science, or George Washington Carver, is in spite of a racist society not liking their ethnicity, their excellence was of such that even their enemies had to respect where they were coming from.
That was the voice of Reverend Jackson. There is, so many memories, so many things, so much that he has given us. And we're fortunate that we had him for the number of years that we did. We lost so many of our wonderful leaders so early in life. We think about 39 years old for Dr. King. We think about the youth of Malcolm. We think about the youth of Medgar. Just so many, so young. And in this case, we have Reverend Jackson, and we have Andrew Young. Not everybody was able to be here and do as much and continue the movement as they were for as many years as they were. And, we certainly are at a loss without Reverend Jackson, and I will remember him forever, but certainly clearly and definitively yesterday and today, it is important that we remember the messages that they share with us and continue to live on that and push on that and write on that. I do want to take a minute, not even so much to change the topic, but I do want to acknowledge yesterday afternoon, many of us were out at Trinity. And as Reverend Moss came on Monday and talked about the fact that Skip Gates was going to be there yesterday to do his piece that he does on attorney Jim Montgomery. And, it's interesting because he came on and we had it in our news coverage and we did all that we could. Man, I couldn't find a parking space around when I got there yesterday. There were a lot of people there to really celebrate this man. And when he came into the chapel, he got a standing ovation. When Skip Gates came in, he got a standing ovation. These two gentlemen sat there and they talked to us for probably, it felt like maybe an hour and a half, including Reverend Moss coming in at points. And it was really just absolutely wonderful. And to hear how Skip Gates goes through and does the genealogy, does the history, has you walk through it, to see that was great. He's also quite brilliant and entertaining in the process. And at 94 years old, attorney Jim Montgomery, he is still sharp as a tack. He says he used to be able to sing, and but his voice is now weakened, which it has some, because it was such a big voice for so long. But to hear him still sharp mind, still going through all these things, they sat there and had the conversation, was pretty phenomenal. Here's the other thing that in the midst of everything else we didn't capture yesterday, but we certainly will today. Yesterday was Jim Montgomery's birthday.
Really?
Yes, he turned 97 yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So wonderful to have had that life study come out then on his birthday. Wonderful to have him there then. Wonderful to have so many people come out and celebrate him. It was just a phenomenal, phenomenal day. I also, Titus, man, it's time for a break again. I'll say this part first. Okay, I'll say it when I come back. Let's find out what's going on in the news, because we have Annette Flanoy here with us. Got a number of calls on the board. I will take them when we come back as we continue to remember Reverend Jackson. We'll be back right after this.
I was born in the slum, but the slum was not born in me. And it wasn't born in you, and you can make it. Wherever you are tonight, you can make it.
Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson was a giant, a civil rights icon, an ambassador of peace, and humanitarian abroad. For more than 5 decades, Reverend Jackson fought for civil rights in America and stood shoulder to shoulder with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in the 1960s. Alderman Dorothy Tillman reflects on working with him in the early days when Dr. King sent the Reverend to Chicago to head up the then Operation Breadbasket.
He took that breadbasket and did a lot with it. Little Red Rooster stuff we had to boycott and really began to launch a lot of boycotts in Chicago. And we went on after the assassination of Dr. King when he started the Rainbow Push Coalition.
I am black, beautiful, proud. I must be respected. I must be protected.
He was a trailblazer, even in politics, running for president twice in 1984 and again in 1988. Reverend Al Sharpton remembers those moments.
By him running, as never had been an elected official, with most black elected officials at that time not with him in 84. When he ran and did that, I believed that we could make a difference. We could change laws.
He demanded justice for all and was known around the world for negotiating the release of international hostages. WVON CEO Melody Span Cooper reflects on how the Reverend was an advocate for fairness and equity for individuals as well as local Black industry leaders.
Reverend's been fighting that fight for us, for business people. You look at across the gamut, whether it was George Johnson, John Johnson, John Rogers, you name it, Reverend has at WVON, Midway Broadcasting. He has made a difference in our lives and in our business. He was bold with it. He could go tell the story, and he did. He was unapologetic.
Father Michael Flager of St. Sabina says he was at the Jackson home Monday night and prayed with the family.
We went to jail together. He marched with us on Michigan Avenue. He stood with me in the Dan Ryan. Just countless examples over and over again of this walking together in this fight, and he never quit.
His son, Congressman Jonathan Jackson, spoke with WVON's Rufus Williams Tuesday morning. He says his father's goal was to make America better.
Somebody has to blaze the trail, and I respect and love him so much for that he made a difference in so many people's lives. And when I hear all the stories, my father confronted discrimination and racism and helped people get contracts, help people get business, and that's why I'm going to continue on.
Congressman Jonathan Jackson says it was fitting that his dad passed away peacefully surrounded by family during Black History Month.
You march on. Don't let them break your spirit. We will rise never to fall again. From slave ship to championship, march on. From the outhouse to the state house to the courthouse to the White House, we will march on, dream on. Our time has come. Thank you very much.
For WVON, I'm Annette Fernoy.
Tuned in to your favorite WVON personalities on Facebook Live? Don't just watch, like it, love it, share it. Every click helps us grow the conversation and keep the community strong. So remember, like it, love it, share it, Chicago.
It's D.L. Hughley.
Being a black new Trump supporter is like getting addicted to crack right now. The right is more angry at gay people than pedophiles. Nicki Minaj called Don Lemon a thug. She called him a c***er. You have a husband that is a registered sex offender. And I don't understand why Nicki Minaj would be worried about Don Lemon when it's Chris Hansen she needs to be aware about the dude from Catch a Predator.
Weekdays at 5 a.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Time is up. The IRS is in full collection mode for 2025, issuing liens, levies, and garnishments to anyone who has a past tax debt or unfiled tax returns. Don't wait till it's too late. Your paycheck and bank accounts are at risk of being seized. Call now and stop the collection process today. If you're living check to check, no matter how much you're making, you still may qualify for the Fresh Start programs offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax debt. It's just a 5-minute call to get your options, and it's free. If you owe back taxes, have years of unfiled tax returns, under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or finally just want to sleep better. Business or personal, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief while there's still time. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and tough. This veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. The call is free. Call their hotline number now, 800-259-4149. That's 800-259-4149. Find out if you qualify today. Call 800-259-4149 or go to republictaxrelief.com.
Hey everybody, this is Kendall Moore, The Kendall Moore Show, getting you from your work week to your weekend each and every Friday night from 6 until 9 p.m. I get you from your work week to your weekend. Church, tabernacle.
Kendall Moore, radio for the next generation on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 AM, WVON.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Kyle Cox started Blindster in his garage back in 2010. Since then, they've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters nationwide. Their blinds are DIY friendly, guaranteed to fit, and always cheaper than big box stores. Blindster.com.
WVON traffic and weather now.
You're looking at a 30-minute triple on the Ryan in from 95th Street into downtown. The Bishop Ford, give yourself 25 in from I-80-94 to the Ryan. Pretty heavy, right approaching 111th Street, then stop and go all the way in. Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, a 25-minute trip as well in. As you make your way along DuSable Lakeshore Drive, the trip from 67th Street to Jackson, just about 18 minutes. On the north end of the drive, Hollywood to Monroe, just about 15. However, we are seeing some heavy traffic right around Hollywood to Foster. The inbound side of the Stevenson, a 51-minute trip from I-355 to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. On the outbound side, you do want to look out for a car in a ditch at Damon. The inbound Eisenhower, moving along just about 55 minutes, and you're looking at about a 50-minute trip along the Kennedy in from O'Hare to downtown, getting to the airport just about 25 minutes. Turning mostly sunny today with temps climbing into the 60s, almost a spring-like day in Chicago. Tonight, the National Weather Service says we'll dip down to around 44. But currently, it's 54 at Midway, 53 in Washington Park, and 54 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Flournoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
If you're not out of the bed yet, then what are you waiting for? It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. We are continuing to honor the memory of Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. Joining us is none other than our Congresswoman, Dr. Congresswoman Robin Kelly. Congresswoman, good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Now, we're going to always have you. Truly, we are having, really in deeper mourning. Yesterday was more shock. Today is really the realization that he's not here anymore. And we are staying on because he's such a big person, such a big personality, and such a big impact to all of us. Just love to have your thoughts on Reverend Jackson.
Well, honestly, the first thing I thought about when I truly met him for the first time, of course, I knew about him forever, but when I was running for the first time for state representative, and how I walked into a church in the south suburbs and he was there waiting to help and support me. I was mesmerized and shocked to see him, but we were in the church together and he was supportive. Then we went to the mall and we walked around, and he was such a, as you said, big figure, iconic figure, that he was stopping people at the mall, but he was there to support me and for my success. And the other thing I think about on a personal level, when my husband died a couple of years ago, he was at the service. He came to the burial, which was so meaningful to me and so kind of him, to do that. And I was fortunate to see him about a month ago. And so I was glad to be able to do that, being the last time that I would see him. But as everyone knows, he was iconic. He was a voice for the voiceless. And he helped all kinds of people. Like, he always talked about the rainbow. And he helped Black, brown, white, Asian, whatever color, whatever ethnicity, whatever person, needed help, that it seemed like he felt was voiceless and couldn't help themselves. So, and he, is leaving a big legacy in his kids.
Indeed.
Generational.
Indeed. You get a chance to work with at least one of them consistently there in Congress. Yeah. To that point, can you talk about what your sense is of the feel of Reverend's presence is on our government? He certainly ran for president 2 times, tried that political side, did not reach that, but it had to have some impact on what takes place there, or even on the people who are there, because his figure was so significant.
Well, he did something that to many was unimaginable. Even a Black person running for president, I don't think, like he and Shirley Chisholm, they were bold in what they did, but it still paved the way. It took a little bit, but it still paved the way for, Barack Obama. He put in people's mind that it's possible that a Black man or a Black woman could run for president. And yes, it had a profound effect, I think, on the Democratic Party. And his speech and his message, when he ran at the convention was so powerful.
Indeed. And he put in people's minds, and certainly as it relates to those who have become president since, and speaking specifically about President Obama, just the changes that he forced to be made and how the delegates got counted, so that it was proportional versus winner take all, just had such a profound effect on how presidential politics are garnered in these days.
But also just even, I know he ran for president, but just, opening the door that Black people could run for all kind of positions, in Congress. It took a long time, as my colleague Jim Clyburn talks about, from when we had the first Black representatives, and and then when we got more, there were big gaps of time. And he talks about, of course, South Carolina, but he showed that we could run, even though he didn't win, but that people could win, maybe not the presidency, but other offices.
Well, he showed what was possible. And we're at some point today are going to again play his 88 speech, where he really brought everybody to the party. And he talked about those who may be downtrodden or otherwise disengaged, but he brought everybody there and made the world pay attention to people whose voices had not been heard ever, just by his very presence and the things that he did. He was a phenomenal man. And even though he did not win the presidency, he won so much more for so many more people and really making that happen.
Totally agree with that. Totally. I think he garnered even more respect for what he was trying to do.
He had to have. He was just a national figure. And I'll talk about this in a little bit, but you think about it, and Reverend Jackson hosted Saturday Night Live. Reverend Jackson, he was a full feature on South Park. Just bigger than life he was in so many ways. Congresswoman, thank you so much for taking out a moment
and sharing some thoughts
with us. If you see anybody I know, remind them that I have more years under the bond than they do. Maybe that'll help them.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Take care. Have a good day.
In. You too.
Okay.
All
Bye-bye.
right. We got some callers on the board that have been here for a bit. Miss Eunice, good morning and welcome to VON. What's on your mind this morning?
Look for you yesterday. It was a wonderful presentation Mr. Gates gave of Attorney Montgomery, and he's a delight, Attorney Montgomery, and so his wife. It is something how they can go back and get all this information. And I want to correct something I said yesterday. It was not Reverend Jackson's show. It was Derek Hill's show that the boycott of the Taste of Chicago Fest, I called it Jane Boyne Fest, was called. And I have so many memories of Reverend Jackson over my 58 years being there, but I'll talk about him at a later time. And thank you for taking my call.
No, thank you, Miss Eunice, for calling. I was there yesterday. I came in, and once I did find a parking space, my wife and I came in, and we were sitting up towards the front. So I may have been missed then, and then we left pretty soon afterwards because it was a very, very long day for me.
Okay.
All right, but a good. Of course, you were there because you're everywhere.
Okay.
Right,
Thank you. I try to get around, you know.
And you do. It works. It works. Thank you, Miss Eunice. Appreciate you. Shaka Barak, good morning. Welcome to VON. What's on your mind this morning?
Greetings, Brother Rufus. First, my condolences to the Reverend Jesse Jackson family and the extended family. When I first met him in the 1980s, I saw him as a humanitarian, as a champion of relief efforts from Jamaica, Gilbert in 1988, Katrina, and other disasters around the world. I also saw Reverend Jackson as a man of peace. When former leaders of street organizations responded to the murder of the 7-year-old Dentrell Davis from Cabrini Greens in 1993, the first National Peace Summit in Chicago occurred under the vision of the late Dr. Carl Upchurch. Reverend Jackson formed part of the national leadership with Pastor Jeremiah Wright, Minister Louis Farrakhan, Marion Stamps, Robbie Ben-Ami came in from Dimona, Israel, Reverend Jeanette Wilson, Ben Chavis from the NAACP, the late Hal Baskin, Gator Bradley, Larry Hoover, and Chief Malik supported the peace effort from behind the wall. And of course, Prince Asiel was a master of unification. At Push, Reverend Jackson had youth from the Crips and the Bloods from California. He had youth wall to wall in support of the peace. For quite a while, the gunshots ceased, and he showed us that whatever has been achieved, it can be done again in order. Thank you, Brother Rufus.
Brother Shaka Barak, thank you for the list and the memories. It was, you just, what you just laid out is just how the Rainbow Coalition comes together and what it is and what it means and what Reverend was able to do. And so often, even now, when we think about politicians or a lot of them, or when people need to be pulled together for a conversation, the answer was always, who can do it?
That's right.
And the answer was always Reverend Jackson.
That's right.
The answer was always Reverend Jackson. Thank you so much for those memories. We appreciate it.
Thank you, my brother.
All right. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back. More of your calls, more of your thoughts, more remembrances of Reverend Jackson right after this.
More of the morning show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
That's another amazing run by Team USA.
Mom, think I'll be on Team USA one day?
Well, I'll take this one.
What? Are you speaking to us?
Yes, and to answer your question, anything's possible, especially with Xfinity.
So I can be the best snowboarder ever?
Well, I can't guarantee that. But Xfinity can guarantee that your internet price won't change for 5 years.
Okay. What if I practice every day?
Then maybe you'll be snowboarding for Team USA at the next Olympic Winter Games. And Mom, you'll still be paying the same price for Wi-Fi.
Ooh, really stuck the landing there. It's the Xfinity Gold Medal Celebration. Now through February 22nd, get our best price on gig Wi-Fi for 5 years guaranteed, just $50 a month. Plus, get Peacock Premium included for 2 years. That's a $10.99 value per month. Xfinity. Imagine that. Proud partner of Team USA. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. Actual speeds vary.
Tuned in to your favorite WVON personalities on Facebook Live? Don't just watch, like it, love it, share it. Every click helps us grow the conversation and keep the community strong. So remember, like it, love it, share it, Chicago.
Is another 2008 financial crisis looming? This is Kevin Demerit for Lear Capital. Just listen to the news. Numbers don't lie. Personal debt is at record highs. Corporate bankruptcies are soaring. Just the interest on our debt will hit $1 trillion this year. Then you have central banks buying record amounts of gold to protect their own assets. They see what's coming and it's a no-brainer. Maybe it's time for you to do the same. Move some of your paper assets into gold because they can't print more gold. It's easy to buy, easy to sell, and it's never been worth zero.
Folks, Kevin Demerit has been spot on about the economy and gold. Call Lear Capital today at 1-800-927-2400 for your free Gold Investor Kit and their 2024 special report, Rising Debt, Rising Gold. Tell them Kevin sent you, and you'll also get free shipping on your first order. Call 1-800-927-2400. That's 1-800-927-2400, 1-800-927-2400.
Hey, Chicago, this one is for you. Join OG Mr. Rick
for the OG Culture Report every Thursday night from 9 to 12 right here on WVON 1690 AM. We're talking the culture, our stories, the streets, politics, entertainment, our struggles, our wins, and the voices that matter. Don't miss it. Every Thursday night, 9 to 12, the OG Culture Report with yours truly, OG Mr. Rick, on WVON 1690. That's it. That's all.
This report is brought to you by SuperSure. Do you own a small business? You need to hear this. A seismic shift is coming. It's time to get SuperSure. Not kind of sure, not pretty sure, not a little sure, but SuperSure. The seismic shift is coming. SuperSure, coming soon.
WVON traffic and weather now.
Inbound Ryan, still heavy, but moving at 30 minutes from 95th Street into downtown. Getting to the right along the Bishop Ford, you're looking at a 20-minute trip, heavy right around 115th Street, then stop and go all the way in. Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, still about a 20-minute trip as well. If you're on DuSable Lakeshore Drive, give yourself 18 minutes from 67th Street to Jackson. On the north end of the drive, Lawrence to Fullerton, pretty much stop and go, about a 15-minute trip still. The Stevenson now bumped up to 52 minutes from I-355 to DuSable Drive. That earlier crash on the outbound side at Damon with a car in a ditch is still on the scene. If you're on the Eisenhower, now an hour plus from Thorndale to the Burns Circle, 50 minutes on the Kennedy, in from O'Hare to downtown, getting to the airport, just about a 25-minute trip. Sunny and pleasant today, temperatures climbing into the low 60s. Currently, it's 54 at O'Hare, 53 in Inglewood, and 54 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Flournoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
I read from Sam, I am. According to the Latter-day Saint Seuss. You do not like green eggs and ham? I do not like them. Sam, I am. I could not, would not on a boat. I will not with a goat. I will not eat them in the rain. I will not eat them on a train. Not in the dark, not on a tree, not in a car. You let me be. I do not like them in a box. I do not like them with a fox. I will not eat them in a house. I do not like them with a mouse. I do not like them here or there. I do not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham.
Titus, thanks so much for that. That was so good. Wow, what memories. The point is moot. The point is moot. That's Reverend Jackson, green eggs and ham. Just fabulous. I pointed out, as Shaka Barak did, the ability that the Reverend had to pull so many people together. How many people can you just say the Reverend about, and everybody knows who you're talking about? Just say the Reverend, and everybody knows. But he was able to pull people together. And Mr. Kenneth says Reverend Jackson always applied pressure when he was called upon. And Dominique asked the question, who's that person to do that now? Who's going to fill that void? It's when we have these gaps that we recognize how important people were. And who's going to fill that gap? I actually don't know. In this moment, I don't know who's going to fill that gap. But it's a gap that absolutely needs to be filled. And it's not one that anyone's appointed to. It's one that you develop into, as the Reverend did. And he did so eloquently and so well, and was listened to by all. Let me see if I can get in at least one more call before we go to break. Brother Evans, good morning and welcome to VON. What's on your mind this morning?
Good morning, Rufus. Good morning to your family. Listen, Reverend Jackson, his pastor was really Reverend Clay Evans, but he belonged to all churches, not just fellowship. He belonged to all churches, and he always had a play with words. He would say, people would quick say, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. Reverend Jackson would come right behind him and say, no, it's Jesus the Christ. The Christ. He had to play with words. He came to fellowship and changed the nature of fellowship. He even brought Jeff Ford, gang leader, to fellowship. When fellowship moved, that was before they had this new building. But the fact that he was a trailblazer, like Jonathan Jackson said, he wasn't a path. I mean, he didn't just follow the path. He created his own thing.
Yeah.
And many times when the person does that, Rufus, you stand alone. You go against the grain. So sometimes church people, they don't want to change. And that's what Reverend Jackson did. He just brought fresh air to fellowship. And I heard Alderman David Moore mention that yesterday of how Reverend Jackson came to fellowship and just changed the nature, which is true. And there's only one of those kind of guys, Rufus. There's only one kind of guy like that. So we're going to miss him.
Well,
thank you, sir.
No, thank you so much, Brother Evans, for calling in and sharing your thoughts. Appreciate it. Brother Ball, good morning. Welcome to VON.
Hey, Brother Rufus, crew. Hey, listen, man. You're right. We only get one Michael Jordan. You only get one Malcolm X. Certain people are just one-on-one. Funny story, 75th Street, early 90s, not early 90s, probably early 2000s. I was a journeyman carpenter. I did every bridge on the Dan Ran from 95th Street. I think I told you before, my last one was 35th, White Sox Park. This particular time we were on 75th Street. When Tyrone Muhammad and whoever else was organizing these groups of guys showing up to these job sites, they would always hit my bridge. This particular time, I felt obligated to come up, drop my tools, and go say something to the good Reverend Dr. Jesse V. Jackson. And when I tell you this man shook my hand firm handshake. We stood eye to eye and talked, and I told him, I said, this is a union job. Everybody on this job has to belong to the union. So if you go to a non-union job, you'll have a better opportunity to get some of these guys on. I asked him, could he do something about us in the union not having a black business agent? Those are the people that we call when we have any discrepancies on the job. Call the union, they send out the business agent works everything out. We never had that when I was in the union. From 96 up into 2010 when I left. Jesse Jackson is the reason I was able to go to 69th and State because the Black McDonald's organization, he started that, or he helped start it. He helped start so many things. One of my friends did get promoted to Black Business Agent, and I want to say that was because of his ties that he had doing work with Operation Push and the Coalition on 47 through construction and helping people get in the union from King and Dunbar. So Jesse Jackson is definitely a groundbreaker and a piece of Chicago foundation, because without that man, you wouldn't have Barack Obama. And when he said what he said about Barack Obama, he stood on what he said and he apologized for it. That's something that you don't see often, something that you don't see from men, and that's definitely something that you don't see from leaders with leadership in our community that can stand firm on what they said and say, I apologize. I didn't know the mic was on. That man was a great man in our community and for our people, and we will never get another one to replace him. He has a junior. He has a son. His son can't fill the shoes of his father. Michael Jordan's son can't fill the shoes of his father. You only get one-on-one on certain people. So rest in heaven to the brother Jesse Jackson. And remember, didn't he go get people from overseas?
He did.
Didn't he go rescue soldiers?
He did.
He should have been president out that. He should have been elected. Man, come on, man. If we can go down the list, I got a list of things. I can't talk right now. I'm dropping my daughter off. I'm in traffic. But that man was a great man, and he had our complexion. Rest in heaven, man. Rest in heaven. Love y'all. Catch you on later.
Thanks, Brother Ball. Appreciate you. No, his shoes cannot be filled, but his shoulders can certainly be stood on, and we need folks to stand up and do that. Let's find out from Annette what's in the headlines and find out what's in Black Information News. We'll be back. More your calls, more your thoughts, more remembrances of Reverend Jackson after this.
A spring-like day in Chicago, turning sunny and pleasant with temperatures in the low 60s. I'm Annette Flournoy. And in the headlines, tributes continue to pour in for Reverend Jesse Jackson, who passed away Tuesday morning. Later this morning, his family is set to hold a news conference at the family's home. Governor Pritzker will deliver the 2026 State of the State address and the 2027 budget addresses today. And Illinois has earned more than $1 billion in medical debt. National news from the Black Information Network is next on Chicago's original social media platform. WVON 1690 AM, Berwyn, Chicago. It's 8:01.
BIN News Now. Michael Jordan is celebrating his first Daytona 500 win.
Great strategy by the team, and we gave ourselves a chance at the end. And look, I'm ecstatic.
Tyler Reddick took the checkered flag for Jordan's 2311 racing team, breaking through on the final lap for the organization's 9th NASCAR Cup victory. Reverend Al Sharpton is paying emotional tribute to his mentor, the late Reverend Jesse Jackson. Sharpton called Jackson a consequential and transformative leader who changed this nation and the world, saying Jackson kept the dream alive and taught young people from broken homes, including him, that their spirits were never broken. And Celtic star Jaylen Brown says he was targeted by Beverly Hills police after the officers shut down his All-Star Weekend event. Police say he needed a permit, but Brown insists it was a leadership panel at a reasonable hour, not a party. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app. Back to Terry McCready.
A group of Senate Democrats are raising concerns over the recent departure of the head of the Department of Justice's Antitrust Division.
This is long term. We are going to work hand in hand to make the most violent crime city in the country have no crime.
Attorney General Pam Bondi in Memphis, Tennessee, back in October, talking up a federal surge to combat crime. Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar is leading the group who pressed Bondi over concerns about the Trump administration's commitment to enforcing antitrust laws after Gail Slater announced last week that she was stepping down from the role. The Democratic senator suggesting that Slater's departure was particularly concerning due to reports that experts and attorneys at the Antitrust Division have repeatedly been sidelined by leadership at the Justice Department. They are now requesting information on discussions about Slater's potential dismissal, as well as the dismissals of 2 of her deputies. Officials say 11 people were killed in 3 boat strikes by the U.S. military earlier this week. U.S. Southern Command says the strikes hit alleged drug smugglers in the Eastern Pacific and the Caribbean. It said in a post on X the vessels were traveling along known narco-trafficking routes. 8 people were killed on boats in the Eastern Pacific and 3 on a boat in the Caribbean. The Defense Department says the U.S. has now launched more than 40 strikes that have killed at least 130 people. Black leaders in the U.S. say they're trying to educate the younger generations about the life and legacy of the Reverend Jesse Jackson, who passed away at the age of 84. News commentator Roland Martin says although Jackson never got the Democratic nomination for president, he was widely regarded as a world leader.
When he traveled to other countries, he was literally treated and accepted as if he was a head of state.
He ran for the Democratic Party's nomination for president in 1984 and 1988 and performed better than any African-American had until Barack Obama won the nomination in 2008. Jackson began the Rainbow Push Coalition in 1996, which was a merging of his 2 civil rights nonprofits, the National Rainbow Coalition and Operation Push. Workers at Kenya's main airport ended a strike yesterday that caused severe disruptions to local and international flights and air traffic control operations. Nairobi's Jomo Kenyatta International Airport is one of the busiest air transport hubs on the continent, and the slowdown left thousands of passengers stranded. The airport's authority posted on X that the Kenya Aviation Workers Union agreed to return to work following mediation by the government and other officials. The walkout buyout stemmed from unresolved grievances, including an employment agreement that stalled in negotiations. Stay informed, stay connected, and subscribe. Follow VIN News this hour wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Terry McCready for the Black Information Network.
This report is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Every now and then, you find a deal that actually feels like a win. With Straight Talk Wireless, you get more and pay less. Now, that's a good deal. No contracts, no credit checks, no surprises, all on Verizon's 5G network. Find it in the same place you've always found straightforward prices, exclusively at Walmart and straighttalk.com.
U Chicago Medicine Ingalls Memorial believes a few things. They believe that care that knows your life is care that knows your needs. That world-class care belongs in your neighborhood. That care that listens to you is care that's made for you. From primary and specialty care to emergency department services, comprehensive health care is under one roof in Calumet City, Flossmoor, Harvey, and Tinley Park, providing you and your family the best care possible. Visit uchicagomedicine.org/FCC to find what you need close to home.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit Tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
Every Friday at 3 p.m., I step behind the mic with one mission: to cut through the noise. I'm David Seaton, WVON's only conservative voice, and trust me, I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you what you need to hear. I'm unapologetically conservative, proudly anti-progressive, and I don't deal in feelings, I deal in facts. If you're looking for sugar-coated opinions, this isn't your stop. But if you want the truth, straight, no chaser, pull up a chair. The David Seaton Show, Fridays at 3 p.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Tune in every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. for Speak On It with Dr. Kofi Malik. You've seen him on cable TV. Now hear his spirited conversation on the Talk of Chicago. The question at hand is raising voices of the Negro. That plain and simple. Tune in every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. for Speak On It with Dr. Kofi Malik on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Kyle Cox started Blindster in his garage back in 2010. Since then, they've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters nationwide. Their blinds are DIY friendly, guaranteed to fit, and always cheaper than big box stores. Blindster.com.
1690 WVON remembers the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. You were a beacon of light, not only for Chicago, but for the nation. From our family to yours. Rest in peace, Reverend Jackson. Job well done.
Live from the Xfinity Studios, it's the station that America listens to. WVON, Berwyn, Chicago. It's Rufus Williams on Chicago's essential storyteller, WVON.
You wonder how I do it. It's just one simple rule. I'm just cool. Honey, baby, can't you see? Girl, I'm so cool. Ain't nobody bad like me. Hey. R-U-F-U-S. What's that spell? R-U-F-U-S. I'm just cool. Honey, baby, can't you see? Girl, I'm so ain't nobody that like me. Sing it, baby. U.S. What's that thing? U.S. That felt good.
The Audio Genius. The Audio Genius. The Audio Genius.
Welcome back. We are continuing the remembering Reverend Jackson, who we lost yesterday morning. Such a phenomenal presence, such a man who did such great work. And as we look at what's going on in this country today, by virtue of that, what's going on in the world, he is needed so much more now, but we don't have him. We have his memory and we have his direction. And the challenge for all of us is, what are we now going to do? How are we now going to step up in that gap? I have mentioned before here that one of my idols was Dr. King, and he was one of my idols for a number of reasons, and not the least of which, at the prime of his life, on principle, we lost him, 39 years old. He got so much done in that time that tells us we have so much more to do. And as we think about Reverend Jackson and all that he's done, it tells us that we have so much more to do with the onslaught of things that continues to come. I mentioned last week that this government is suing Nike because they say they're discriminating against white men. I watched something this morning that showed a speech that was given in, it must have been a State of the Union speech, where the current incumbent talked about how great it was that he was getting rid of DEI, had gotten rid of DEI in all federal departments. And I watched that vice president and I watched that Speaker of the House stand and applaud. And I heard all of the applause from the floor for that. These things are pushes and slights against us. We look at what's being done around Black history. We look at what's being done around the banning of books. We look at those things and it tells us that the fight is on and the fight is real. When Congresswoman Kelly talked about James Clyburn is an amazing man. The more time you get to spend with him, the more amazing you understand that he is. But when he speaks and talks about things, he talks about it from a point of knowledge, and he talks about Reconstruction, and he talks about that in the spirit of one. It was only here for 12 years because of one vote that happened that turned the whole tide around who was going to be president, what was promised, and why so many things then happened to push us and end Reconstruction. He talks about that, and it really reminds us how important the vote is. There are people who will now elevate in different ways, but it's going to take all of us to really continue all these things that are going. There is a continued discussion that's happening within CBS, and it's happening around Stephen Colbert and this whole thing where the FCC is pushing about equal treatment of candidates who come on. But Stephen Colbert was going to have one of the candidates for Congress from Texas, Tallarico, on, and the interview was killed, allegedly, ostensibly, coming from Washington through Paramount to Stephen Colbert, that his interview with Tallarico didn't happen. Stephen Colbert, they've already determined they're going to end his show. He wasn't silent before, and he's certainly not silent now. So he's coming back hard at them. The First Amendment is at stake, and it's good he's coming back hard at him. And I will say that and also recognize Tallarico's running against Jasmine Crockett. So I'm not but so sad about it. Have Jasmine on some more, because Tallarico also mentioned that he raised more money yesterday as a result of that interview not showing. But we know that if they're pushing against white people like this, they are pushing harder against us about all of these things. I had an opportunity yesterday, I had mentioned this before, to give a speech on Black History Month at at a pretty significant company, a Fortune 500 company that's headquartered right here in Chicago. The name I won't give because I didn't ask permission, and I don't want to put anybody in the crosshairs. But clearly, their issue was not at all around what we're going to do for diversity, equity, and inclusion. After I had finished my remarks, which were unfiltered, I mean, I gave them as I would, the CEO and the chief executive officer and the chief operating officer both came to me and thanked me for my honesty, thanked me for my comments, and I thank them for staying at the helm of these things that happen and need to happen, because we need them to continue to recognize the equity that is not existent within this country. And the fact that they had this conversation yesterday, and the fact that they invited me to come and do it and had some sense about what we were going to speak, what I was going to speak on, really gives us a knowledge that this is a passing thing, as so many things are. But it only passes if we continue to stand up, if we continue to push, if we continue to force, if we continue to fight. And all those who are out there may not be of our melanin, may not be of our hue, may not be fully of our convictions, but there are some good people out there who are still pushing in good ways, and we need to make sure that we're there and pushing hard with them. I need to take a break. We'll continue on more remembrances of Reverend Jackson right after this.
More of the morning show with Rufus Williams coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Catch Reverend Al Sharpton online at WVON.com or on the WVON app. Just click the Al Sharpton banner. Tune in every day at 12 noon for your daily dose. And if you miss it, catch the overnight replay from midnight to 3 a.m. We're keeping it real with Al Sharpton on WVON 1690.
Tell everybody, Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Whatever you do, keep it real.
It's Gospel with Pam Morris Walton, your gospel sister, on WVON Sundays, 11 to 2 p.m. Music to help you on your journey. I'll see you there, WVON.
Black Creativity 2026 is now open at the Griffin Museum of Science and Industry. The exhibit features the nation's longest-running exhibition of Black art, plus interactive family experiences, STEAM career showcases, youth flight school camps, and signature events throughout the season. From art and innovation to education and community celebration, Black Creativity uplifts the voices, stories, and contributions of Black artists across generations. Buy tickets today at griffinmsi.org.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Maria Pappas with Black Houses Matter.
We're up to $385,632,000. This is 208,000 African Americans that this little WVON station has delivered $385 million to. I mean, this is newsworthy.
Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas with Black Houses Matter. Monday mornings at 11:30 a.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Kyle Cox started Blindster in his garage back in 2010. Since then, they've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters nationwide. Their blinds are DIY friendly, guaranteed to fit, and always cheaper than big box stores. Blindster.com.
WVON traffic and weather now.
If you're on the inbound Ryan, you're still looking at that 35-minute trip in from 95th Street into downtown. Getting to the Ryan along the Bishop Ford, you'll hit the brakes right around 115th Street. Give yourself about 20 minutes in from I-80-94. Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, still that 20-minute trip in from I-80. DuSable Lakeshore Drive, just about an 18-minute trip still from 67th Street to Jackson, pretty much heavy as you approach Soldier Field. On the north end of the drive, still heavy from Lawrence to Fullerton. If you're on the Stevenson, still about 55 minutes in from I-355 to DuSable Drive. The inbound side of the Eisenhower, you do want to look out for an accident blocking the left lane at 25th, making your travel time in from Thorndale to the Burns Circle just over an hour. The Kennedy, 55 in from O'Hare to downtown. You're still looking at about a 25-minute trip getting to the airport. Turning sunny and pleasant today, almost spring-like as temperatures climb into the low 60s. Currently, it's 55 at Midway, 54 in Rosemore, and 55 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Flurnoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
If you're not out of the bed yet, then what are you waiting for? It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on 1690 WVON.
And this seemed like, I mean, his quote, it's the letter from the Birmingham jail. I'm sure you know it better than all of us. He once said, and I thought it was apropos to this situation, he said, I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block is not the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice.
The context of that were those who hypocritically are embarrassed by behavior that's ugly, will vote in other directions. For example, there are those who decried Trump's statement about a non-statement about Charlottesville,
right?
But they also voted for Jefferson, Beauregard, Sessions to be Attorney General.
Jefferson Beauregard, right, the Attorney General, named after Jefferson Davis and the General, the Confederate General.
That's right.
Beauregard.
There are those who are against Trump's statements, but then vote for shift health care money from the poor to wealth care for the rich.
Right.
They're moderate. They're nice guys. They don't like to be. They're embarrassed, but they're not change agents. Another king said we need change agents, not just people who are embarrassed because that's personal.
Welcome back. We are still remembering the legacy of Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. I got a feeling we're going to do this for a very long time, and I'm happy to do it. Happy to hear your thoughts. Expecting a call in just a few minutes, but I'm going to try to squeeze in some more before we get there. Eddie Reed, good morning and welcome to WVON. What's on your mind this morning?
Brother, how are you?
I'm doing as well as we can.
Very good. Let me move quickly because I know how that radio time is. I want to go back to the brother about the summit. The major public meeting on the gang summit ended up at Operation Push with Reverend Jackson. Jesse Jackson is an incredible man, and he deserves all the respect that one can be given. But that very quickly, that initial meeting started upstairs at Seabuck, and there was a man named Kubla Torre. Do you know Brother Kubla?
I do.
Brother Kubla was the first man that sat down with those young men. They trusted him, and he brought them together. I gave him the keys that evening to Seabuck so he could lock up. So there was nobody in that room but he and those brothers, and then it went on from there, and it became, but the man who helped make it all come together was the great Jim Brown. Now, Jesse Jackson, I'm going to come a little bit different than others. There was a major disagreement between Judge Pencham, between Jesse Jackson, between Lou Palmer, and Vernon Jarrett. But why I bring that up is to teach our black men a lesson. It didn't get in the public. They weren't talking about it on the radio. They dealt with that, and I mean, it was a major disagreement. And they dealt with that as men do by not telling the village and trying to get people to take sides and that sort of thing. So that's one of the lessons, the great lessons about this man that people may not know, is that these great men could have such a disagreement with each other and deal with it privately. My closing point is this, and of course I'd like to tell a story about Thanksgiving 1984 when I took the coconut cake to Jesse's house, and Mr. Farrakhan was sitting in the living room because he had given the FOI to Jesse because it was alleged that Jesse called New York Town. So the FOI was protecting him. But at the end of the day, people keep talking about a torch. The thing that we, I think, have matured to in this village is a lantern. People are going to have a problem with one person having a torch. But if there's a lantern where we all can walk that path together, where we can deal with these things, then I think that we will have a greater chance of coming to a more powerful peace. We are tribal people. We don't have a tribal council. But I can say that this man, Jesse Jackson, people talk all the crap about him he was. He was a man's man, and he was a ladies' man. But he had no fear. He stood up when people were lynching black people. I'm down in Virginia. I know what it's like down here in the bush. All right, my brother.
All right, Eddie Reed, thank you so much for your thoughts and thanks for those comments. We really needed, needed them and needed to have it. Let's continue on. Nash, good morning and welcome to VON. What's on your mind this morning?
Okay, let me grab my phone. Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Yes, good. Right on to the point, Rufus. I'm the guy that call you always hearing you about Southern and Jackson State. But
Yes.
however, Rufus, when I was growing up there in Canton, Mississippi, right outside of Jackson, there was a march against fear in Mississippi from Memphis to I almost said Chicago, Memphis to Jackson. And Martin Luther King was in that march, and I was about 13, 14 years old, ran to the front of the line so I could see him. Who was in that line with him but Jesse Jackson? And we went to the black elementary school, first courthouse, and they said those walls was too dirty. Let's go to our own school. Went there, had a U-Haul truck where they was going to pitch the tent, stay there overnight. And Jesse was on top of a truck that was a stage platform. And all of us kids had heard about the young preacher. He had on a neat little blue jean outfit. Rufus, remind me of you, the pants and the jacket to match. That was the style in the 60s. I think that was 65 or 66. So I seen him then, and he made a speech, of course, that day, and of course, Martin King. And they shot tear gas at Martin King, and all of them on the truck. I would think they had some other stuff in there could really hurt you. They rolled Dr. King off of that truck so fast, and Jesse and all of them, they got away. I've seen them take the butts of their guns for people that was in the march. It might have been 1,000, 1,500. That's huge for a little town, beating the people with the guns and all of that. That was one experience I had with Jesse. I have three, but I'm going to just say this one and get off because I want to make sure I get it out. The next one that I had with him.
Nash, tell you what, hang on for me because I'd like for you to finish, but I need to take this next call because I know he just has a very short period of time. So hang on for me. I want to hear from our next guest. He's none other than the first Black speaker of the Illinois House, Emmanuel Chris Welch. Speaker Welch, good morning. Welcome back to WVON.
Rufus, good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me, my friend.
No, I needed to have you because the position that you hold and the places that you are, really, as we continue to remember the legacy of Reverend Jackson, we'd love to have your thoughts on the Reverend.
What a beautiful legacy it is. The man died yesterday, but his life and legacy is going to live on for generations to come, Rufus, through all of us. I'm in a position like I am today as the first Black speaker in the state's history because Reverend Jackson lived. Reverend Jackson paved the way for people like me and the 6 Black speakers who are first Black speakers in their state's history in this country right now. He paved the way for people like Barack Obama to become the presidency. When he ran for president in 1984 and 1988, he broke barriers that created the first Black president and the first Black woman to run for president, and Kamala Harris. I mean, the things that Reverend Jackson did during his lifetime is going to continue to pay dividends for our communities, all communities, for years and years and years to come. And I can't stress enough, the most important thing he would tell us to do is to understand that our power is in our vote. Our power is in our vote. Go vote, people. Go vote. Stop sitting at home and complaining. Go vote. People died for the right to vote. He witnessed that. He was on that balcony with Dr. King. He witnessed the fight, the struggle. We got to get out there and vote. That's our power.
What a legacy that would be if we just saw that, if we saw this amazing turnout of people who recognize and benefited, which everyone has, from the work of Reverend Jackson. That's a wonderful message and a wonderful direction to give us, Mr. Speaker.
Rufus, the current president of the White House, won a second term in the White House with the lowest voting margin in presidential history.
That's right.
In the history of presidential elections. It's not because his people went out and voted. It's because our people stayed home. And how's that working out for us? And, you know, if Reverend Jackson was here, he would tell us to keep hope alive. But the only way we can keep hope alive is to go vote. And the things that are happening in this country today can change if we go vote. Keep hope alive, but you got to go vote.
Wonderful message, Speaker Welch. I appreciate you so much for calling in and sharing it with us this morning. We'll look forward to hearing from you after the governor gives his State of the Union, State of the State. And love to hear your thoughts after that. Appreciate you coming on with us this morning.
I look forward to reporting back, my friend.
All right. Be well.
Go vote, people. Go vote.
Go vote. Good message from the Speaker, Speaker of the House, Emmanuel Chris Welch. Let's find out from Annette what's going on in the news. Be back, more of your calls right after this.
Turning sunny and pleasant today, temperatures are expected to climb into the 60s. Good morning, I'm Annette Flournoy, guest starring for Candace McCullen, and here's what's happening. The world is honoring an icon. Tributes continue to pour in for Reverend Jesse Jackson, who passed away Tuesday morning at the age of 84. While the world knew him as a giant and a history maker, those that knew him as dad, his family, are set to hold a news conference at the family's home later this morning. Earlier today, U.S. Congresswoman Robin Kelly spoke with WVON's Rufus Williams. She says Reverend Jackson had a tremendous impact on the Democratic Party.
Well, he did something that to many was unimaginable, even a Black person running for president. I don't think, he and Shirley Chisholm, they were bold in what they did, but it still paved the way. It took a little bit, but it still paved the way for, Barack Obama. He put in people's mind that it's possible that a Black man or a Black woman could run for president. And yes, it had a profound effect, I think, on the Democratic Party.
Governor Pritzker has ordered that the flags at the state capitol be lowered to half-staff. Well, Governor Pritzker also will deliver the 2026 State of the State and 2027 budget addresses today. The governor is also hosting a roundtable discussion on his affordability agenda for housing in Illinois. The roundtable takes place at the ceremonial office in the Illinois State Capitol. And Illinois is reporting huge medical debt relief. The Illinois Medical Debt Relief Program has erased more than $1.1 billion in medical debt through their program. They say hundreds of thousands of Illinoisans across 102 counties have benefited. Well, that's a look at our news now on 1690 WVON. Traffic and weather up next. WVON News Time, 8:34.
That's another amazing run by Team USA.
Mom, think I'll be on Team USA one day?
Well, I'll take this one.
What? Are you speaking to us?
Yes, and to answer your question, anything's possible, especially with Xfinity.
So, I can be the best snowboarder ever?
Well, I can't guarantee that, but Xfinity can guarantee that your internet price won't change for 5 years.
Okay. What if I practice every day?
Then maybe you'll be snowboarding for Team USA at the next Olympic Winter Games. And Mom, you'll still be paying the same price for Wi-Fi.
Ooh, really stuck the landing there.
It's the Xfinity Gold Medal Celebration. Now through February 22nd, get our best price on gig Wi-Fi for 5 years guaranteed, just $50 a month. Plus, get Peacock Premium included for 2 years. That's a $10.99 value per month. Xfinity. Imagine that. Proud partner of Team USA. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. Actual speeds vary.
I'm Rufus Williams. Watch the new episode of Bound and Woven, where I sit down with a woman whose story shook this city and moved the nation. Anjanette Young, author of Past the Pain, joins me for a raw and honest conversation about trauma, accountability, and what it really takes to rebuild your life when the system fails you. This is an easy conversation, but it's necessary. Join me for Bound and Woven, streaming now on Vine TV, which you can catch on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV Plus, the WVON app, or simply go to VON.TV.
It's Rufus Williams.
This is not the America that we thought it was. Certainly not now. And whatever pushing has to go to reverse that, I'm sure that Keith Ellison and the others there in Minneapolis are doing it, because anything that's happening anywhere can happen right here to us. And there's no reason to believe in any way, shape, or form that you can be separated from it.
Weekdays at 7 a.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Kyle Cox started Blindster in his garage back in 2010. Since then, they've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters nationwide. Their blinds are DIY friendly, guaranteed to fit, and always cheaper than big box stores. Blindster.com.
WVON traffic and weather now.
Just a slight improvement on the inbound side of the Ryan. Now 32-minute trip from 95th Street into downtown. We're seeing a slight improvement as well along the Bishop Ford down to 17 minutes from I-80-94 to the Ryan. Tuskegee Airmen Memorial, still just about 20. You'll hit the brakes right around 115th Street, then stop and go all the way in. DuSable Lakeshore Drive, still that 18-minute trip in from 67th Street to Jackson. On the north end of the drive, still heavy, though, from Lawrence to Fullerton. You're looking at almost 20 minutes in. Along the Stevenson, give yourself 55 minutes in from I-355 to DuSable Drive. The inbound side of the Eisenhower, still that hour plus from Thorndale to the Burn Circle. That earlier crash at 25th in the left lane has now been moved off to the shoulder. If you're on the Kennedy, you're looking at an hour from O'Hare to downtown. Getting to the airport, just about a 25-minute trip. Turning sunny and pleasant, almost spring-like in Chicago. The National Weather Service says we're looking at a daytime high in the low 60s. Tonight, we'll dip back down into the 40s. But currently, it's 56 at Midway, 55 in Auburn Gresham, and 56 degrees here at the Talk of Chicago. That's a look at traffic and weather now. I'm Annette Flournoy on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
If you're not out of the bed yet, then what are you waiting for? It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on 1690 WVON.
The truth is, America has followed Reverend Jackson. As he marched with Dr. King, walked the picket's lines, ran for our nation's highest office, instilling hope and inspiring millions, beginning with his own remarkable family. From the streets of Watts to the hollows of Appalachia, as my special envoy to Africa and the leader of Rainbow Push, he has walked the walk of freedom. Dr. King said human progress never rolls on the wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts of those willing to be co-workers with God. The cause of justice has no greater co-worker than Jesse Jackson. It's hard to imagine how we could have come as far as we have without the creative power, the keen intellect, the loving heart, and the relentless passion of Jesse Louis Jackson.
You recognize that voice is none other than President Bill Clinton, sharing his thoughts on Reverend Jackson. They had a very special relationship. If you recall, for the very longest time, he was one of the few people, Reverend Jackson was really close to President Clinton when he was in office and was able to carry forward some messages that others may not have been able to. Nash, let me come back to you because you weren't done with your comments.
Yes.
Thanks for staying
Okay,
on.
I'm on air.
Yes, you are.
Okay. To connect the dots, Rufus, with our Southern people because I'm Southern because I was raised there in Canton and came to Chicago when I got out of high school at 18. Now, I got a job at a large manufacturing plant in the southwest suburbs called Corn Products, and we had a big strike in 1974. I'm a very young man. They got Jesse Jackson to come out to speak to the union members, a big hall full of people there in Argo, Illinois. And he told the people, certainly he was trying to help sell the strike, huge manufacturing plant, good jobs, all of that. He told all of the people that was there that day, he says, you all are out here together, black and white. He said, you must work together as brothers or die apart as fools. They got their strike settled, Rufus. And this is my last point, and I like to talk about my Southern heritage. The groups, the singers out of Mississippi, people like Mighty Clouds of Joy and Canton Spirituals and all that. I was at Dr. Johnny Coleman's church, and I was standing near him against the wall, and I couldn't go approach him because there were his security. So I said, I remember you when I was a child in Mississippi, and he begged for me to come to him, and I told him that. So he heard this group out of Canton, Mississippi. They made this song, I Got to Clean Up What I Messed Up. I want you to Google that, Rufus, so you can hear it. Mississippi Po' Boy and all of that for the people from Mississippi from the time we came there until the time we here, and we all are working together.
It's a fantastic story, Nash. Thank you so much for being patient and sharing that with us. That's important. Appreciate you. Let's continue on. Pam's been holding on for a while. Pam, good morning and welcome to VLN. What's on your mind this morning?
Good morning, Rufus, and to the Rue Crew and WVLN family. It is indeed a sad time, and just so thankful for Reverend Jackson and his family, the sacrifice his family, and all of our civil rights leaders, because not many are going to put their lives on the line like that. Let me just say this, Rufus, and I'm just going to say it because it's who I am and it's my truth. I hope that Clinton stays away from the funeral. Now, I know the family may invite him, but I just hope that he will take the initiative and say no. And that's simply because of his attachment to that Epstein situation. Just stay away, please. And anybody else. Next, I'm going to move on. Rufus. Reverend Jackson made a point to talk about, I am somebody, being kind, talking about his entrance into this world to a teenage mother. Now, I'm thinking his teenage mother gave birth to him. How many other teenage moms out here, their children, their babies have the potential to do the same thing? But we want to castigate them, degrade them, talk about them because they're on welfare, SNAP, or other assistance. So I'm interested in, because I hear a lot about the formative years in college, but those years that he was younger and in high school, and I know growing up under Jim Crow, I'm interested in those years, what helped form him, and to help get him to the position where he could make it through college. He talked about helping everyone so that we could also reach back and help each other. That's from the business community to the educational community to workers. It was always about he helped people so we could help others. So when you ask, what are we doing? Do we have memberships to push? Or are we too good for that now? Or are we upset because something we didn't agree with, something that Push or Reverend Jackson or someone else did, that we don't have memberships, just basic memberships? And then the business memberships. Roland Martin did a wonderful tribute and talked about how he connected business people to contracts and fought for that. And he said, got people on board. He said, so if you're on a board and you haven't done anything to help diversify it beyond yourself, what are you doing? And then I'm going to add this piece, because we know what is the kindness, the peaceful approach to any disagreement. But does this country ever think about, Rufus, what if Dr. King, Minister Farrakhan, Reverend Jesse Jackson had said, the hell with it. Let's just go get some guns and let's shoot up and do as much damage as we could. I mean, do they even think about that? That these same men who cried for peace, negotiating, trying to change laws and policies, they could have easily gone the other way. But when I'm saying not easily, but what if they had chosen to go the other way? And just say, create hell in this country. We may not win a war, but we can tear up some things. We can kill some people and destroy some things and make life very uncomfortable for these so-called millionaires and billionaires. But these men chose peace, negotiation, love. And as much as people talk about, well, you know, God, Christians, and blah, and all of that mess, I don't know too many agnostics or atheists who have put their lives on the line like Reverend Jesse Jackson and others. And I thank him for that. I thank his family. It means something to me, Rufus. We're not looking for perfect leaders, but he is a peaceful, decent man. Decency is the order of the day. And I wish we had his voice on this issue dealing with this adjudicated sexual abuse in office. That's not to say that Yusuf and Push, they aren't doing what they can, but he had a certain sensibility. And that's what many of our leaders have, a certain sensibility that informs everything that they do. And he was kind to people because he knew poor people were being mistreated because of the color of our skin, our hair. But not only black poor, white poor, all of the poor. And he brought that sensibility everywhere he went. And that's important. How are you going to treat people in this life? You got your good job, good house, good money, so you too good to be a member of Push? You too good to support any national action organization? You too good to support any of our civil rights organizations or pastors that are really doing the work and in the fight? So I thank him. I love him, and I love everybody who was out there on the front line. And even those who were disruptive inside of Push, he still tried to be calm, negotiate. And there was some so disrespectful. They know who they are because they're listening. But this man talked about peace. Last thing I'm going to say with Nike. I never bought a Nike anything. But for those of you who do enjoy the product, call Nike and tell them to fight for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Tell them not to settle whatever lawsuit that this corrupt DOJ is bringing. Please tell them, if nothing else, at least do that.
Yep.
Fight for what is right. Exactly. Roland Martin had a wonderful tribute to Reverend Jackson, just as VON, just as everybody. And so I'm saying, well, we can help Push, become a member, right? Attend the meetings. The more money you have, the more money you should be donating. I mean, I don't think that's asking too much.
It's not.
He's even helped media, black media people. You had the media people talking about how he helped support them and get them in the door.
That's good direction, Pam. We appreciate it. And Reverend Jackson had 5 children who are all doing things, so it spreads out, and we need to support his efforts, support their efforts, and keep hope alive. Let's take our last break. We'll be back with more of your calls after this.
Life is busy, so getting your mammogram should be simple. At U Chicago Medicine Ingalls Memorial, we've designed the entire experience around you. Fast appointments, expert care, and now same-day scheduling at locations close to home. Don't put it off. Check it off your list. Call 708-915-6266 or visit uchicagomedicine.org/mammogram to schedule a same-day mammogram.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Granger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRANGER, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Greetings, WVON family. It's your brother and friend, Bomani Obedelli of the Activist Hour. Join me on Saturday mornings as we discuss a holistic and public health approach to addressing community violence. We will also be discussing ways that we can create a safe, peaceful, economically thriving, and healthy communities. Join me Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. on WVON for the Activist Hour. This report is brought to you by Blindster.com. Kyle Cox started Blindster in his garage back in 2010. Since then, they've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters nationwide. Their blinds are DIY friendly, guaranteed to fit, and always cheaper than big box stores. Blindster.com.
Keep your eyes on the road and both hands on the steering wheel. We will not be held responsible for any accidents. It's the WVON Morning Show with Rufus Williams on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Welcome back. We're wrapping up my segment of what we're doing in the second day of the remembrance of the loss of Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. As I mentioned at the top, yesterday was a shock. I mean, to hear at I think my first note came at 2:37 a.m. that he had passed, and just shocked through it all. Today is more remembrances, not beyond the shock, but the sorrow and the remembrances, and really the push about what are we doing and how do we ensure that the Reverend and all of his work was not in vain with what we continue to push on. And it's not a person who will take the lead. It is all of us. But got a few more minutes. Got a couple more callers on the line. I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to share their thoughts. Renee, good morning. Welcome to VON. What's on your mind this morning?
Hi, good morning, and thanks for taking my call. I just want to let Pam know that I am a push member. I have many of those little lapel pins. And wow, since the pandemic, I've mostly gone to push via YouTube, and I watched, I listened to Reverend Jackson hasn't been there for a while, but I listened to the Sunday morning push episodes religiously every Sunday morning. But, we have been blessed to have Reverend Jackson with us. My favorite month of the school year was always February, because during that time I could expose my students to great people of the past and the present. And Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson was incorporated into many of the poems that I wrote that they performed in assemblies. They had to learn about Reverend Jesse Jackson. One of the ones I wrote about the heritage of kings and queens ends with Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson is still in the fight to end discrimination and to promote what's right. He even ran for president twice. Keep hope alive. And then we began to see pieces of a dream as Barack Obama, with Michelle, Sasha, and Malia at his side, became the 44th president. And we were filled with pride. Yeah. I played his speech for my students. They sat spellbound, and these are fourth graders listening to every word that he said from his 1988 speech. He was a great man, and we are blessed to have had him. But before I go, Rufus, I want to just say that they're playing chess right now regarding James Tallarico. He's been funded by the same billionaire Miriam Alderson, who helped Trump's campaign. She's given him over $200 million over the years. And in 2024, she donated $100 million to his Preserve America PAC. So we have to be careful, because James Tallarico might be running as a Democrat, but we don't know whose side he's really going to be on. And I'm thankful that Reverend Jesse Jackson used to have on his radio show. He would give us views that we didn't necessarily get in corporate media. And I'm sure he would have pointed something like this out, just like Santita still does on her show. Yeah. And thank you for taking my call, and thank you for, letting people call in and talk about this great man that we had in our midst that we just lost.
Yeah, thank you, Renee. I appreciate you and all your thoughts and comments always. I'm going to pick it up at some point in the very near future because we are in election moment. Polls are open, and we need to really understand what these endorsements mean, why there are people endorsing people, whether that you follow that, and where the money is coming from, because it does give us a sense of who is really pushing for will push for what our interests are. Because it does matter, and the influences don't necessarily show up in the front. They show up in many, many different ways. Lee, good morning. Welcome to VON. What's on your mind this morning?
Hey, Rufus, good morning. Thank you for getting to me. Appreciate it. Listen, because it's you and because it's your show and I respect it so much, I reserve, some of my comments, but I will say this about the Reverend. He did great things. And I think that he can only do great things when you recognize where you stand in life as being flawed. But being flawed does not make you a bad person. Being flawed does not mean you can't do great things. And I know when he used to go to Cook County, sometimes he would get angry because you want people to understand if they take nothing else from this man's life, take from where he was born and how he was born, right? Take that, for instance. That didn't deter him. Once he got into a loving home, once he got somewhere where people cared for him and nurtured him, he became great. So anybody who calls in and thinks that your life might be tough or things might be bad, and that means you then abscond from your ability or abscond from your position of raising your child, don't do that. Don't do that, man. There's so many children out here that are born in tough situations, but if they're given the platform of love, if they're given the platform of some scriptures and taught that they are loved no matter what by their creator and that no one is here by mistake, they can make it. And so this ignorance that we see amongst people of our culture and our color in this city, I hope, if nothing else, anybody who tries to put on the Reverend's shoes will try to at least go down that path and say, look, just because you're flawed or broken does not mean you cannot be great. It does not mean that just because you're poor, like he used to say, you're still somebody. You are not here by mistake. I hope they understand that, Rufus, because a lot of people walk around and think because I'm flawed, now my children are going to be flawed. And I must go out here and hustle and sell drugs and do ignorant things and kill and shoot and stab and rob. And then they try to lay that at the feet of I'm trying to support my family. That is asinine and an outright lie. You can make it. Take from this man and understand what great heights you can reach, even if you feel like you're flawed, even if you've made some mistakes. You can make it. And so I hope that that's the message everybody will get from this. Because this crutch that many of us lean on, that the system, society, this stops me from being who I am. No, that's a lie. Slaves, Rufus, they parents knew they were slaves, but they say my children doesn't have to be. So anyway, man, thank you for letting me get that off, because I hope that's what individuals will take from this man's existence, that you can be great, even if you do some missteps and get flawed in the process. Thanks, man. Have a great one.
Appreciate you, Lou. That's a good place to leave it, a good place to call and come to. And, I often go to the New York Times for obituaries, and they have a very long one on Reverend Jackson because they've been covering him for a very long time. Some things in there are troubling. Some things in there are things that we would push and fight against. But one of the things, and what you pointed out, is we are somebody, and irrespective of how it begins, people who wrap their arms around others, and those of us who wrap our arms around ourselves can really go and make something happen. And the Reverend's life shows us that in more ways than we can ever recall. Thank you all for calling in. Thank you for your comments up on Facebook. And thank you all for all of your remembrances of Reverend Jackson. We'll see how tomorrow goes. We're kind of figuring this out, how we feel in the moment, but there's so much to cover, so much to talk about, so much to do. And it takes all of us to get it done. Annette Flournoy, you're the best. Thank you so much for coming in and giving us all the information as you always do. Love to see you whenever you come in. And Titus, man, you've been doing yeoman's work, and we certainly appreciate that on every single level, because it doesn't happen if you don't make it happen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll ask you, as I always do, as you go through the course of the day, you will come across people who are dealing with things that you know absolutely nothing about. So please be kind, always. And with that, Annette, tell us what's in the headlines, and T-Dub, take us home.
A sunny, breezy day in Chicago as temperatures climb into the 60s. I'm Annette Flournoy, and in the headlines, as tributes continue to pour in for Reverend Jesse Jackson, his family is holding a news conference at this moment. WVON's LaDonna Ray is there and will give us an update. And Governor J.B. Pritzker has ordered that flags at the state capitol be lowered